aspirants. So amid a lot of pandemonium, recently the Lok Sabha has seen 3 new bills that are intended to bring back the political morality into our system. Now, these 3 bills are intended to deal with the criminalization of politics in our democratic setup. Criminalization of politics, as we all know, is the biggest ever challenge that our democratic setup is facing. Coming to these 3 new bills, on one hand, they are intended to address this criminalization of politics. On the other hand, there has been a lot of concerns that are raised. So, we'll have a broad discussion on these issues in our edition of UPSC Angle. As we discuss about these 3 new bills, what they are likely to do, what is the intended purpose, and what are the concerns that are being raised, we'll try to understand whether these 3 new bills will serve as an end card for criminalization of politics, or whether there will be a new dawn for vendetta politics, or will these 3 new bills used to settle the political scores. We'll try to understand after a brief analysis. To start with, we'll look at what are these 3 new bills. First and foremost, it is 130th Constitutional Amendment Bill, which is supposed to amend Articles 75, 164 and 239 AA. These Articles 75, 164, 239 AA are the basis for executive governance framework in India. So the other 2 bills are about Government of UT Amendment Bill and also Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Amendment Bill. So what does these 3 bills are supposed to do? So these 3 bills will be ousting or facilitating or enabling the removal of the Prime Minister and the ministers in the Union Council of Ministers, at the state level, the Chief Minister and the state ministers, and also the ministers of Union Territories. When will they be removed? They will be removed when they are arrested or detained on serious criminal offences, on committing the serious criminal offences. What are the serious criminal offences or charges? Those offences, if convicted, if they lead to greater than or equal to 5 years of imprisonment, then those offences are classified as the serious offences. So if these ministers are arrested or detained for a period of more than 30 days, that is on 31st day, they will be automatically ousted from the office. For example, if you want to draw a recent example, you can take the case of former Chief Minister of Delhi, Mr. Arvind Kejriwal. He has been arrested of committing money laundering. Still, he remained in office for close to 6 months or so. If at all, if you imagine these laws are in place, so by the end of 30th day, on 31st day, automatically he'll be ousted from the office. So that is how we need to understand them. So why is it necessary? So as already mentioned by our Union Home Minister, to bring back the political morality. So bringing back political morality is the most important aspect or dimension of avoiding criminalization of politics or dealing with criminalization of politics. So the main agenda, as stated here, is public trust to ensure constitutional morality and also further good governance to the citizens of our country. So the authorities that are facilitating the removal are the President of India at the central level for the Prime Minister and Union Ministers, the respective state governors for Chief Ministers and Ministers at the state level, and Lieutenant Governors for Ministers in respective Union Territories. One more notable provision in these bills is once these ministers are released out of jail, so if they are not convicted, released out of jail, they can be reappointed to those respective offices. So that is the point we should take note of. At present, there has been a lot of pandemonium and a lot of objections and concerns are being raised by the opposition because these laws, as alleged by the opposition members, can be used to settle the political scores. It can be very draconian, it can be anti-constitutional or unconstitutional. We'll see how they can be anti-constitutional or unconstitutional, and we'll see their concerns. So coming to the concerns raised by the opposition, first and foremost, they are concerned about the destabilization of opposition ruled states. So if you look here, the states in which the opposition is forming the government, it can be weaponized against them. And second most important aspect is giving unquestioned or unbridled powers to the central agencies, especially a case in point. Recently, there has been a lot of debate about the CBI and ED having unbridled powers. Even the Supreme Court also questioned these agencies going beyond their scope, and also these agencies being used to settle the political scores. The third most important aspect is these bills in the present form and shape will definitely negatively impact the federal structure. And also, most importantly, they'll violate several constitutional provisions or principles. For example, the separation of powers. First and foremost, if you look at the separation of powers, in the present shape, these bills will give unquestioned powers to the executive. The executive can act as jurist, judge, and also executioner of the punishment. And also, it can lead to double jeopardy. I would like to point out to Article 20, Subclause 2 in our fundamental rights. And one more important aspect is, it is against the due process, which is one of the foundational principle in our jurisprudence. It is also the due process. Why? The due process is also one of the cornerstone of the principle of natural justice. For example, if a crime is committed or if a person is accused of committing any certain crime, so all stages of jurisprudence, the particular person who is accused of committing the crime has to be properly represented, and his criminal act should be established beyond doubt. Without all these things, without all these stages, if a person is simply removed out of public office, it is clearly against due process. And last but not least, it will definitely subjugate the popularly elected ministers. So these ministers will be perpetually in fear of ousting just on the basis of accusing of committing any sort of crime. So we'll try to see at what stage are these three new bills at present. So these three new bills, after being introduced in the Lok Sabha, they are sent to JPC, the Joint Parliamentary Committee. It will have 31 members, both from Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha. From Rajya Sabha there will be 10 members, from Lok Sabha there will be 21 members. Of course, JPC, Joint Parliamentary Committee, will have representation both from the ruling party as well as the opposition bloc. So at present, these bills are sent to Joint Parliamentary Committee for detailed scrutiny, and as per reports, it is said that in the upcoming session, that is the winter session of the Parliament, in the first week or so, they will be reintroducing these bills after detailed scrutiny and study and making the necessary changes. Now, coming to our main interest in our UPSC angle, how should we view this aspect? This is very important because criminalization of politics is one of the important area concerning the UPSC, especially in the UPSC mains. So if we try to have a look at the kind of questions that can be expected in UPSC mains, of course it is from GS paper 2, Polity and Governance. Model questions for your practice. The criminalization of politics is often seen as the darkest blot on Indian democracy. In the light of present bills, these three bills, seeking automatic removal of ministers in custody, critically analyze the balance between the constitutional morality and due process of law. We have seen what is constitutional morality and due process of law following all the stages. Due process of law is one of the important foundational and basic feature of our constitution. Second, suspension of civil servants upon arrest cannot be equated with removal of elected representatives. So critically examine this statement. And also, interestingly, we can also find question that could be asked from GS4 ethics paper. Going further, if you look at the kind of questions that could be asked in your preliminary examination, consider the following statement with respect to 130th Constitutional Amendment Bill. The first statement reads, it provides for automatic removal of ministers, including Chief Minister, if they remain in custody for more than 30 consecutive days on charges punishable with imprisonment of 5 years or more. Second statement reads, the bill equates the status of ministers with civil servants who are suspended upon arrest. True. Third, it prevents the reappointment of such individuals to ministerial posts after their release. So the third statement is incorrect. It does not prevent. In fact, the bill notably facilitates the reappointment after their release. Okay, the first and second statements are correct. So the answer would be 1 and 2. So for continuous and more relevant UPSC updates, please subscribe and keep following UPSC Angle.